Welcome to the channel, everyone. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you my first attempt at a digital camo. For this chosen camouflage job, I'm going to be using the Krylon camouflage paint, not because I think it's more harder wearing than any other paint or anything, but because they were rather cheap for each spray can and they offer a very flat finish, okay? Okay, so the first thing you're going to ask yourself when you start or when you attempt your own camouflage paint job is what kind of scenario, what kind of background am I going to be using my replica rifle or my airsoft gun in, okay? So there's no point in doing a desert cam or anything if you're going to be in some heavy woodland, you get the picture. Okay, so once you've chosen what season, what kind of backdrop that you're going to be playing in, it's then to choose your colors. It really doesn't matter for me what kind of color I pick, so I'm going for a kind of a digital desert cam, I guess. So my main color would be the either sand or flat dark earth or thereabouts. Okay, so that's kind of going to be my main base color. The idea when you're making a camouflage paint job is to break up the shape. Okay, so obviously if you have a black rifle like this and it was pitch black, this would pretty much stick out, okay? Because in pitch black nothing is pitch black. There's obviously going to be some pollution light and if there's artificial light anywhere, you're going to pick up shadows and everything's going to be broken up into faded shapes and different shades of grey to dark black. Having a absolute black weapon or replica airsoft rifle, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. You may want to give it a bit of shadowing and just to break up the shapes, okay? That's what I'm going to be doing with mine, just mainly laying down shapes in different colors and contrasts to try and break up the shape a little bit, okay? It's not going to blend in perfectly to any environment. I'm guessing the colors I'm using is going to be pretty much used for, it would be best suited for sandy environments, deserts, things like that, okay? So desert warfare. Okay, so so the first thing I'm going to do is remove the stock from the barrel and the receiver. The base gun I'm using is it's a VSR 10 Pro Sniper, slightly modified. As you can see on my Pro Sniper rifle here, the VSR 10, you can see that the paint's worn off here, obviously where this cocking handle keeps rubbing into the body there, and there are some other blemishes here as well, probably from the cocking handle rubbing against that on the underside. If I paint over that, it's going to wear off, okay? It's going to wear off pretty quickly, almost instantaneously. So what I'm going to do is find out the places that have excessive wear. I'm talking about where that happens instantly and not paint it, okay? I'm either going to remove the black paint and leave it silver, or I'm going to just leave it black, as it were. Okay, so but that's down to you. You can look at for the high wear parts. Now, for this paint job, I'm going to prep everything as much as I can, clean everything with some mild cleaning agents and get rid of all the grease and grime and dirt, and then probably just abrade it slightly, just to give it the paint something to bite onto. Now, I'm not going to be using a primer for this spray job, basically because I want it to wear out, okay? I don't want it to last for years and years and years and be extremely rugged. I'm actually going for the weathered and worn look, but what I normally do is weather it myself, but what I want to do this time is just lay on a moderately hard wearing paint and without a primer and no clear coat, and I'm just gonna let it wear out naturally as I use it, okay? It should come off quite easily, and that's gonna give me very quickly a genuinely used and worn look, okay? So that's what I'm going for. So no primer for me, but the prep work is very important. Okay, so let's get down to it. I'm going to take the receiver off now, off from the plastic stock. Okay, after removing the stock from your gun, obviously every gun's different. If you are using a VSR 10, then this will be a good video to follow, but it's pretty much the same thing whichever base gun you have. You're going to want to remove any rubber butt pads you have, any sling studs or swivels, and the magazine release mechanism or button, and then start cleaning your stock. Okay, what I'm going to do now is wash this down with detergent and you know, try and get all the grease and grime off this, any dirt and anything. I'm going to really scrub it down. Okay, once you have finished scrubbing down your and cleaning your stock, making sure everything is completely grease and grime free, next thing you're going to want to do is lightly sand off the surface using a mildish sandpaper, just to give it a bit of give the paint a bit of bite to bite into. You know, obviously if it's a smooth plastic surface, it's not going to adhere to the plastic very well, whereas if you give it some you know, some roughness, it'll have a bit more surface area to bond into, and you know, some shapes for it to really grip into. Okay, right, once you've done that, then it's time to mask off any areas that you don't want painted, obviously holes and things like that. If you end up getting paint into all these areas, they're going to be slightly thicker, making the hole smaller, and anything, buttons and things like that, or even the magazine well, is going to be slightly bigger, so making magazine insertion slightly more difficult. Okay, so here are the main colors that I'm going to be using. This is the, I believe it's khaki color. Okay, all of this is Krylon camouflage paint. I've got the black, matte black, okay, matte khaki, and this is olive, matte olive obviously, and this is a brown. Okay, now normally when you're doing a camouflage paint job, the first coat is normally, well, obviously usually the primer, but then the first colored coat is usually the lightest coat, okay, for obvious reasons. The later on, when you layer darker coats onto that, it's going to take less paint and be slightly easier to cover, whereas if you use say your darkest color first, laying on a light color on top of that later, it's going to take you slightly longer. You're going to need more coats to make the color cover the dark color. Okay, now I'm going to do this slightly differently. Okay, I'm actually going to be starting with the darkest color first, which is black, and the reason for that is because this is my own personal thing. The khaki color, I believe it is slightly too light. Okay, comparing it with colors like flat dark earth, it's a little bit too light. It comes out almost creamish in color, okay, rather than that flat dark earth color. So what I'm going to do, in hopes to get this a slightly darker tint, I'm going to be using my black paint first as the base, and then building up, going lighter and lighter as I go. Hopefully that will, with the darker base, it will help darken the khaki color a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. I've just finished off masking my scope. I've removed the resettable turrets there, as I do not want them to be painted completely in the camo, but I do want some of the parts on the top of the turrets. The reason for that is I actually touch these turrets up quite a bit when resetting them and setting them, and hopefully that'll help wear them down. If there's paint on them, then it'll be able to wear down. Okay, I'm going to go and do the first coat now. I'm going to be using the matte black. The reason is because this is quite a shiny sheen, and the black bits that I want showing through, I actually want it to be quite matte and dull. So I'm going to go over the whole thing in matte black, okay? Okay, so here I actually start painting. As you can see, I'm laying the first base coat of black, the Krylon matte black on. You can see that I'm kind of laying it on a bit too thick, and I'm a bit too excited, you know. Don't do that. What you want to do is try and stay quite far away from the object that you're spraying, and very lightly, in an even motion, dust on each coat, one after the other, okay? You don't want to lay like a solid color onto it and then a solid color onto that. You want to just very lightly dust it, okay, very slowly, and then leave a few minutes for the coat to dry, and then probably go again after that, okay? Okay, so here you can see I'm starting to paint the outer barrel and the receiver using the khaki color. I'm very lightly just dusting it on, giving it one coat, letting that air dry, you know, so it's touch dry, probably for about, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll start on the second coat after that. What you really do not want to do is get too excited, like I was at first, and lay the color in thinking I should, you know, you get more coverage and it'll be quicker this way. You don't want to do that. You just want to completely dust on a very light coat, wait 10 minutes, and then go again, you know, go for your second coat and then the third coat until you're happy with the color coverage, okay? The whole process shouldn't take too long, but it shouldn't be done in a couple of minutes, definitely, okay? Take your time. Patience definitely pays off in the end, okay? Once you are happy with the coverage and even coverage of all the paint, then you want to hang it up and dry overnight. once you have sprayed your first coat or your base coat in this lovely matte color, comes away from the horrible sheen that of the original black, then now you have to leave it to dry. Okay, it's best to leave this overnight or 24 hours just to, I know it says Krylon only takes 15 minutes to cure, but to dry, but that's just dry to the touch. Okay, you actually need to leave it for quite a long time to harden, and so that the stencils that you stick on won't rip off the paint. Okay, so let it dry, have some patience. Once your base coat has fully dried, it's now time to choose your stencils and you know, basically draw out the shapes that you are trying to make your camo out of. Okay, so for this, a lot of people can buy stencil sets that are pre-cut, pre-made. They're basically just stencil stickers. You can buy a set of them and then stick them on. I decided to make my own, that way I wouldn't have to spend any more too much money. Okay, some people use this graph paper, and what they do is just cut out the shapes. I chose this paper, which is some self-adhesive film. What people use this for is they actually use this for covering books and you know, book covers and things like that. It's self-adhesive see-through plastic film. Okay, so what I've done is I've cut out these shapes here, lots of random shapes. We have some blocks, you know, some jagged edges, step ladder kind of things, like steps and things like that. And I've basically just started to place these shapes all over my my scope and the parts that I'm spraying. The first stencil set that you stick on, which is this one here, this is to keep the color you have. Okay, what that means is once I've stuck these stencils on, the next color I'm going to lay over this is going to cover the whole thing except for the stencil layers. So I'm going to keep these on there until the very final coat. Okay, so I'm going to go probably cover some green and then put more stencils on and then cover it in brown and then put more stencils on, or and then cover it in khaki, and then when it's all dry then peel off all the stencils together. Okay, and that should create the desired effect, hopefully. Okay, so after applying the first set of stencils, I have now gone over the scope and the stock in the olive colour. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. It gives it gained quite a gritty feel and looks quite rough, but it looks pretty cool in my opinion, so I'm going to stick with it. Next I'm going to go with the more stencils, and I'll cut them out now and stick them on. Okay, so I've just put on my second set of stencils onto the stock and the scope. As you can see, I'm using now slightly larger pieces along with some small pieces as well. This is going to preserve the olive coloured areas, so wherever I stick these stickers, it's going to keep the olive colours. Right, okay, so now it's time to do the brown. I'm just, this time I'm not going to completely spray everything. What I'm going to do is just select spots in where I want the brown to be and just colour in. So probably just spray a little bit of brown here, a little brown here, and probably a little bit of brown on the stock as well. And then what I'm going to do after that is stick the final set of stencils on the brown areas, and then just go over with my final coat, which will be the khaki colour. Okay, I'm going to go do that now. Okay, the brown paint has now been applied and dried, and as you can see, if you look don't worry about this bit, if you look very, very closely, you can see some spot marks. They look white or shiny, as you can see here. That's from the brown paint, and that I'm guessing that could be caused by a few things. One, maybe I was holding the can at an awkward angle, so it was spluttering. Two, maybe the temperature was too low when I was doing the spray painting. Three, I didn't shake the can up enough, so it wasn't mixed up properly, so maybe there was some thick paint inside, then when it hit the nozzle it just came out and spluttered everywhere. Or 4, I'm just a really bad spray painter. Okay, so you want to be careful of things like that. I don't mind too much on this brown that this has happened, because I'm only going to be covering small spots to preserve only very small amounts of the brown, and I'll be avoiding the splutter marks. Okay, so that's basically what she looks like now. I'm going to now stick on some very small stencils, the last set, and then we'll go over with the final coat of the khaki. Okay, and the paint is finally dry. As you can see here, I have now coated everything in the khaki colour, and everything is pretty much dried. It's been 3 days since I painted it, so I'm now going to remove the stencils. Okay, I'm going to do a quick scratch test on this this area here. Yep, looks pretty sturdy, so that's I'm happy with that. It's pretty dry. Right, I'm going to remove the stencils now. I'll do this first one here. close up so you guys can check it out. As you can see, I've already partially removed it. You want to be very careful when removing these stencils that you don't rip the paint or anything. Yep, it's pretty sharp. Not fantastic though. As you can see, it's seeped in under the line here. I don't know if you can see that. Seeped in under the line very slightly, so the line isn't as sharp as I'd like it to be, but it is what it is. So here we go. Right, I'm going to do this in a time-lapse video so it doesn't bore you guys to death. Here we go. Okay, so here is the finished product. As you can see, I have stuck with mostly the khaki color as the base coat, although I did lay the base coat on last. As you can see here, the barrel is left plain. This is deliberate kind of, I'm hoping for the worn look, so as this gets worn down, you know, I'll scratch it naturally without actually doing it on purpose, and this will all wear out. And where the pattern is so basic, you know, you can see that there's no pattern here. This is going to wear down as the pattern is so basic. Because as she wears down, the undercoats, you know, the green and the brown and the black will start showing through, and it will basically make it look more messy and slightly more busy in these areas. Okay, so although it looks kind of plain at this moment, I do quite like it. You know, I'm very happy with the result. As you can see, this part here is now the original factory color, the grayish metal color. Okay, there's no coating on that, as the black paint from the factory was wearing off, so rather than paint it, I just completely stripped the black paint off this. Okay, so as you can see, there are some different patterns, some jagged parts, some large patches, and a bit of a mix of everything. Okay, turned out pretty well in my opinion, although albeit a bit basic, but that's not to worry. As it wears down, it starts to look more complicated, and that's kind of the look that I'm looking for. Okay, so thank you very much for checking out this video. Have a go at this yourselves. You know, if you like the results, obviously you can be more creative than me, and you can put loads of more different shapes on just to make the break up the pattern a bit more and make it look a bit more camouflage, as it were. Okay, so I'm very happy that this, you know, it's if you think about it, it's kind of cheap. You know, it's not really expensive. You don't have to send it off anywhere to for people to do a paint job for you. You can just have a go at it yourselves. And the best thing is, if you're not happy with it, you can just wipe it all off and start again, or just paint over the original coat and go again. You know, try and get a new pattern, or you can just paint it in new colors as the season changes. If you're in a place with snow, obviously you go with white, and you know, as you get to summer, you're probably gonna go with some brown and green color. So it's very versatile, very cheap as well, very fun to do. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep it these colors no matter what the season, as I'm not really going to be using this outside in any games or anything. All I'm going to be doing is playing with this and waiting for it to wear down to get that worn look that I'm looking for. Okay, but I'm very happy with it. Thank you very much for checking out the video. Have a go at it yourselves, and I will see you later. I'm going to leave you guys with some short video clips and still images of what the rifle looks like now, the finished product. Hopefully this will give some people out there some inspiration and some motivation to go out, get out there and try it for themselves. You know, if you are worried about messing up, don't worry too much, because you'll never know unless you try it. And if you mess up on the first time, it's not the end of the world. It's probably just a couple of cans of paint you wasted. I know that sounds like a lot, but you can always save up some money and buy another couple of cans, and then gain more experience and have fun and try it again. Okay, no one succeeds the first time. Obviously some people do, you know, natural spray painters, I guess, but you can always just give it a go, have some fun, and see what you make of it. Okay. Initially, I was gonna have some background music in this part. Unfortunately, we cannot afford the rights to use the tune that we selected, so all you got is me talking now. We were going to use that tune that everybody's used for their special forces of whatever country, that background music which everybody's used. But rather than breach all the copyright laws, we've decided just not to use any music. Okay, but thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I will see you guys later.